Welcome back to A Corporate Time. If you want to book our cruise coming up in September, it's the Tom and Dan Cruise 2024.com. You can go on there and you can put your deposit down, fill out the form. Tony and Ahoy Cruises or Deb will call you. And basically, because you're booking with our group, it comes with a free drink package for two.
Yeah,
and free Wi-Fi.
You get free Wi-Fi. You get a free drink package. If you want to take advantage of all of the events that we're doing and little gatherings and little participation deals, you can, or you can just kind of pick and choose what you want to do.
Yeah, everybody who books with us, you'll get a Tom and Dan Cruise T-shirt. You'll get a little bag, some other tchotchkes.
Does a T-shirt still move the needle?
Yeah, I think so.
Are we still hiding things in the
T-shirt?
art?
We used to always hide a weenie in
Yeah.
the art
Yeah.
of our T-shirt.
Are we still doing that?
I'll tell Danger Brain to add a couple weenies.
a couple double weenies.
Yeah, hide them in there good.
Yeah, hide them in there good.
Hide a weenie.
For no one, and something that we don't even know about that's highly offensive.
I guarantee you that I will talk to you long enough on the cruise that you will want to back away from me.
Yeah.
Because it happens to everybody I talk to.
We call that value plus. It's like you got your value of Tom, and now
You'll get sick of him.
Yeah, and then you've gotten so sick of him that you'll go to. In fact, I don't expect to see you on the second day of the cruise.
I'll be with my family, and then I'll tell my family, I'm sorry, I have to go talk to these people that came on the cruise.
Excuse me, I have to talk to the fans.
But the people don't want it.
But they don't want it. Because as I walk over, they try to.
I wonder if our guest has this problem.
They're hiding their Tom and Dan lanyard.
I wonder if our guest has the problem of nobody wanting you to talk to them. Is that where you're at now? Family doesn't want you.
Yeah.
Listeners don't want you. But you know what, buddy? I'm going to tell you something. I want you to talk to me. I'll let you talk to me. Follow you to hell, man. I'll follow you to hell.
So we have a guest in, and we met this guest at Science on Tap.
My favorite beer festival, aside from ours. I have to say that legally. It's my favorite beer festival, aside from our beer festival.
And we were at Science on Tap, and I decided that I wasn't going to drink in January.
Dry January, huh?
Well, I drank a couple days into January, so it was kind of like...
Yeah, that's basically December.
Yeah.
Over Christmas,
like New Year's Day and like the day after New Year's, I had to drink.
Yeah. Over Christmas, I Bradley Knolled myself into puking all over my car. It was bad. It was real bad.
And then so at Science on Tap, I wasn't drinking alcohol.
Yeah, neither of us were.
You know, and it wasn't a really hard stance on it. I was just like, I'll try not to drink. Although all the beers around, I was like, man, I need to fill my sample cup up with something.
Exactly.
And then I saw Leader Brewing. And Daniel, the last Science on Tap, wasn't drinking
I don't know if
either.
it was the last Science on Tap. But I know that some of this beer ended up at the studio because we had it here and I was drinking it.
And so we went up to Leader and we started tasting some non-alcoholic craft beer. And I got to tell you, I was all in because I was like, this makes the day 100% better because I'm now sipping craft beer and I'm getting what I want to, which is not drinking alcohol. But it was so close because it was delicious, and it almost tricked my brain into believing that I was inebriated.
Was tricking my brain.
Like I started getting slurry, and I was like, "This is not alcohol free." Anyway, but so Max is here from Leader Brewing. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, thanks for being here. We appreciate you taking the time to come over and hang out.
So, what made you start brewing non-alcoholic craft beer?
Well, kind of like what you were just talking about. I had that similar experience. I'd been a long-time craft beer drinker, had been homebrewing for about 20 years, but about 6 years ago, I decided I've got to take a break.
Okay.
Not anything specific. I just knew that I wasn't at the top of my game when I kept drinking, and so I kind of cut out alcohol completely for a while.
Oh, wow.
But, you kind of miss that beer and,
Sure.
beer fests and going to the bar and sitting down and everything else. And so, once you get kind of out of the habit of popping a beer after every time you come home or the like, you still kind of miss the flavor. You realize you really like beer flavor and all that kind of comes with it. So I, started drinking the non-alcoholic beers and all the European light lager stuff, and, they were okay, but you missed American craft beer. It was just all the flavor, the varieties, and everything that goes with it. So, again, being a home brewer, I kind of started looking around and said, somebody's got to be doing American craft beer non-alcoholic. And coincidentally, about that time, there was a couple that had started out. So I ordered them online, tried them out. It was okay. Then I had one that was.
They really are hit or miss.
They
man.
are.
Yeah.
The big boys, I'm talking about you guys. Yeah, I'm not talking about guys like Max.
Brewdog, Athletic.
Yeah, but some of the bigger ones that I've tried, I'm like, oh my god, and then and they're priced the same as a beer.
They are.
So if you do buy, I mean, it's not like they're going to give you the sample pack or let me just get one. It's like you buy 12 or whatever, premium price tag, and then you'll taste it and may not be for you. I've had that happen a lot of times.
And when it was, just kind of going, I mean, just starting out, I mean, the only way you could get it was online. So we were ordering, a 6-pack, probably 2 to kind of fill out the box of this stuff, try it out. And some of them were good, some of them were bad. I had a fridge full of, NA that was just kind of sitting there because I wasn't really drinking it.
I have all these NAs that I don't like that are just sitting in my garage fridge because I'm like, they're not good. I'm not going to drink them.
It's hard to throw away a full beer.
Yeah.
It's un-American, I feel like, to go along with that. I don't even if it's NA, I don't feel comfortable just
where can I donate this?
Yeah, somebody should have this.
I've got a bunch of beers in my pool fridge, and some of them are old.
Yeah.
But I can't bring myself to throw them away.
I can't do it here.
Because I'm like, they're
Bring
still
them
good.
in from Mazan.
He'll get them. Yeah, he'll get them. He'll drink anything.
Well, you never know when you're going to run out of your hurricane beer, so you have to get a secondary.
Yeah.
True.
Which
another reason why your beer is good is because I can sip it during a hurricane and still save my family.
That's
That's right. That's right.
Because some of the other ones I've sipped during hurricanes will put me right to sleep.
Yeah.
I'd rather save my family drunk.
Stronger.
So you started brewing your own beers, and then when
It just sounds hard, though, because you're doing something that isn't done.
But let's talk about the process of that, because the
science,
it's funny because people are like Daniel mentioned that they cost the same. Well, they
also ID you, which is insanity.
But the alcohol is the cheapest part of it. But like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure about that, but it isn't like it's not like the alcohol in regular craft beer is the expensive ingredient.
I see what you're saying.
Like all the hops and everything, the
varietal hops or the process or the fruit purees or the whatever they're putting in there.
And I'm ignorant to this, but the alcohol is just the sugar fermentation into the alcohol, which causes the alcohol, right?
Yeah, the alcohol is just the byproduct of the entire brewing process.
Okay.
So when I got into it, I started looking up the different ways that you could make non-alcoholic beer, and I kind of basically categorize them as you either take this stuff out or you keep the alcohol from getting in. There's really kind of two very broad ways, and there's a whole bunch of different ways underneath those to kind of tweak it out. And so your big guys like your Heineken Zero, Guinness, and the like, they do a takeout method of some sort. They got massive machinery, and either through some reverse osmosis or vacuum distillation or the like, they will brew a regular beer, strip out the alcohol, and then blend, some flavors, aromatics, and maybe some regular beer in there to kind of try to still give it that beer flavor on the back end. But that's really expensive. That equipment is as much or more than a regular brewery.
Really?
And so
Why do they do it like that?
It's throughput, really. I mean, it's very easy. You can control. It's an industrial process, so you kind of know what you're getting, your verification of things like that. I mean, so they get those things nailed down, but it makes it tricky for a smaller, and even, a Cigar City or Tampa Bay Brewing Company is still, small in that regard. It's still difficult for breweries of those size to do it that way on their own. There are a number of equipment manufacturers now that are trying to bring scaled down alcohol removing equipment to the industry to make it more affordable, but it's still not easy. It's not just a pump your regular beer in there.
I could never show my father a machine that takes alcohol out of beer.
Out of beer,
or he would punch me straight in the face. You know what I mean? Like I do feel like, and I'm not anti it at all. I mean, you and I have obviously talked about in length the usefulness of being able to have a craft beer when you don't necessarily want to get light in the head. Like you want to be about your wits. One of the things that I most enjoy about your product is the fact that I can use it while I'm working.
Right.
Like where I can still host something while I'm having a beer. It gets hard to host, especially as I've gotten older when you drink. It becomes damn near impossible.
Well, it's
Because
like
I can't remember my thoughts.
it's like bowling. After a couple, you're real good.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if any
you're
more
right.
than that, it gets real
and you're
bad.
only good for about 25 minutes.
Right. Same with golf.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do you brew a beer with no alcohol from the start instead of
Yeah,
like
so
picking out
I do the keep it out method, and there's a whole bunch of tricks because, as you mentioned before, the primary purpose of the yeast that you put into the beer is to make ethanol along with carbon dioxide, and so I obviously don't want that alcohol in there. But the secondary part of what the yeast does to that what we call wort is creates a whole multitude of different beer flavors, and that's what makes that's what actually makes the beer. And so we don't want to lose any of that. That's where you get all that beer flavor and the like. And so I'm able to brew my beer in such a way and create the conditions such that when the yeast that I put in there hits that wort, it creates all those beer flavors I want, but doesn't create as much of the ethanol that I don't want. And then that and some very close control processes. I've got some special equipment that helps me measure that a little bit more than what you're going to find at a typical small craft brewery.
Nice.
I'm able to make sure it never hits a 0.5%. And then we can most of our stuff. So I've also got a pasteurizer that you have to do to make sure that it's food safe and stable. But at the end of the day, I'm able to make a great tasting beverage that's less than 0.5% of alcohol. That's the legal limit, and still tastes like beer.
Oh, it definitely tastes like beer.
So-
like it is like I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I don't think.
That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not easy because you've got to have body, you've got to have the aromas, you got to have the flavor. I mean,
So
it's all got to be there.
From my side of not producing it, am I correct in like let's say you're working on a batch and you're keeping it at a certain level? Are there what are some of the variables that would make it spike more alcohol, or how can you ruin a batch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Can ruin a
Oops, we
batch.
made real beer. Like
yeah, I mean, you put too much food in there for the yeast.
Gotcha.
You run it too hot, run it too long. You get, or God forbid, you get any wild yeast in there or anything like that. Obviously, but you get. I mean, there's very tight controls we got to keep on that to make sure that it never hits that point. Otherwise, it's a dump.
Well, okay, I want to ask you about that, Max.
Oh
because
my God, that sounds hard.
while I'm talking to you, I came up with a business idea that I
course.
think would make us both rich, Max.
And it involves dump.
I'm interested.
Okay,
all right.
so
Run while you can, Max.
yeah.
remember the Seinfeld episode where they loved the fat-free
gonna make
fat-free
yogurt?
yogurt?
I thought you were gonna make Max eat a candy bar with a fork.
I knew this is where this is going.
Sam knows me so well.
She really does.
Which kind of makes me
Yeah.
think that all my ideas
She
are
goes-
pretty
well,
simple.
She goes.
How dare you?
She either goes
No, I'm just
Seinfeld
saying-
yogurt or Shawshank.
Yeah, you only have limited options.
So, speaking of the Seinfeld episode, they're like.
Are you going to tell him just to lie and say it's not
Well,
alcohol?
yeah, everybody was. They loved the yogurt, and then they're all
Until they
eating-
found out it was
and,
not.
and
yeah.
then it did have fat in it.
Right.
It wasn't fat free, but everybody was drinking it like great. They're fat free. That's the only reason. So, what if we did a non-alcoholic beer? But it had alcohol. And then
told everyone it did it.
All right.
Alcohol free.
But when you
we're
make,
listening.
but you use your expertise to get it to like a 2.
Oh,
or a
yeah.
2
Oh, you
po-
mean like
a
eke
2
it
point-
up.
Yeah, just where and then
Well, it would be hard for me to pour out a batch that was a 2. I'd be
No,
like, does
no,
it
no,
still
I mean,
taste-
yeah, because
look,
you
there's-
couldn't make it a damn Waldo 12 or whatever you could.
Right.
You taste it's like ow.
Don't talk about Waldo. Waldo is it's a strange beer around these
you
parts
could-
because both of us have been like literally
It tastes like liquor.
are we going to die
Right.
because we drank so much Waldo?
But if you put it just a little bit over the legal limit, and then people are drinking great like beer,
Why
like
would you try to corrupt Max?
and then
like
you're like the alcoholics are like, I'm drinking, I can drink beer, and they're drinking, they're loving it, or driving around. With,
Yeah, what are
they're
their-
like, I feel great.
there are obviously specific rules about that.
Yeah,
right?
no. I mean, legally, I mean, it goes into regulations and everything like that. So 0.5 is definitely the top before I can say it's non-alcoholic. Now, above and beyond that, believe me, I've brewed a lot of batches in experimentation when I was still, experimenting before starting this that were phenomenal 0.7, 1% beers. I mean, and there really is a trick. That last, 0.5% to keep it under the 0.5 is where the trick is. But I've learned a lot of how to make really good low alcohol session beers as part of it. And a number of years ago when the craft brewing industry was trying to put out a bunch of session ales, kind of styles that were going in there, a lot of them were really thin, didn't have as much flavor, and I think you find that with some non-alcoholics now as well. And I think a lot of what I've learned in brewing all of these different batches and trying to bring all of that mouthfeel and everything else to it is there's a good market for 3-2 beers you get in Utah, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of market for good low alcohol beers that any brewery could make, that if you kind of applied the same types of principles that I use in my NA, you could fully flavored, very satisfying, and not nearly get as messed up as you're doing with all these 7-8% IPAs and higher that you get. I mean,
most of my friends from Europe talk about like cask beers or beers that would be poured at a pub that are like 2-3% beers that they would have. They
the ones your kids could drink.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you'd have multiple runnings. I mean, the old traditional ways of beer being brewed. I mean, you have small beer, and that would be kind of a table beer for kids. Probably 1% maybe, really just to kill the bacteria in the water so that they don't get sick.
That's all Maisie drinks is beer. Purely beer diet. But she's a Coors Light lady, which is really, really weird. She crushes the cans on her head too. Odd.
So, have you found that a lot more people nowadays, because I know, like, I've heard with, like, dry January and people are drinking less alcohol, that you found that more and more people are gravitating towards your beers because that seems like a lifestyle people are...
There's definitely more non-alcoholic options than there ever have been. So
I think it's been proven out that the market exists. I think there's a couple of demographics, major demographics that go. You get a lot of the news story talking about the younger crowd, the Gen Zs and millennials who are more conscious about their alcohol intake. And they're certainly...
We don't like the party.
Yeah, they're certainly the big one. But
what if we do something bad?
But there's a lot of people. There's
lazy. I don't know why it's lazy.
Yeah, I mean, but there's also a lot of the other end of the spectrum. There's a lot of old guys like me, and I'm not that old.
You're
but,
not old.
Grew up loving craft beer forever, but just realized I
can't do this all the time.
Can't do it all the time. I don't want to do it all the time. I love the craft beer,
Artie
but I want to get the alcohol.
Artie's back. Artie
riding
Langs.
that train.
I was trying. There's the first name that came to mind. There is a great business idea in the chat room that I would love to pitch to you. It's courtesy of Shred Bear in there, and I'll give him a prize. I think this is brilliant. He says that your 12-pack should have one in there that's a 14%. Everything else in there. He'd call it roulette 12er.
Yeah.
That's actually not. I would and then the one person that get he crashed his car.
A little Russian roulette party pack.
Yeah, like one is a 12% or 14% or everything else in a. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And that one,
they all look the same.
As you're like, this one's the best. You ruin your business. You're like, oh.
What's the hardest one to make out of all?
I was gonna ask you, do you make sours? Because I know it's really hard to make an alcoholic sour. Is it just as hard to make a non-alcoholic?
I did my first sour a couple months ago. Served it at some of the beer fest this fall. It was a mojito sour.
Oh,
and
sounds good.
It was phenomenal. So it actually, again, kind of the same kettle souring process a lot of the breweries around the area use. Did the same type of thing. Did a batch, put the bacteria in, let it sour, and then did the normal boil and everything else, and got my base, and then added the flavoring. The trick is, I got to be very cognizant of sugars that get into that, so I can't just put a fruit puree in there full of sugars because that would go into the too much food for the yeast and send it over.
Man. So when you're working, because of
chemistry,
that's all it is, right? And because you're dialing in that sugar amount. So would it be correct in saying that maybe your palette of colors to paint with to make your beer is like less? You have to really be careful.
A little bit, but it's also not extremely limited. I'm still going through and exploring all the different styles that I can do, and because there's so many traditional beer styles out there, I mean, I can do an Oktoberfest. Sure. I've done a hazy.
What was the amber that we had?
That was my Tracer Fire amber.
Tracer Fire.
All right.
That one, man. Tracer Fire's dope.
And so I went through when I put them out there, he's like, people have got different flavor profiles, the preferences, right? Either you like hoppy, you like malty, you like roasty.
Sure.
And so you kind of scratch most of the itches with that, and that's where a lot of the styles go. And then kind of just keep growing on that and play with the different ingredients that you have at your disposal to create all those different luxury styles that everybody grew up with.
Sure.
Do you ever use artificial sweeteners? Is that a thing in beer?
That's a good question.
It could be. What I've seen in playing around with some of the flavorings is you get a lot of medicinal fake flavors, very simple. So you got to be careful. That some of them can be good, but some of them just can not quite be right. And so I don't know. I like seltzers for me always taste like cough syrup. And I think
especially the black cherries.
Yeah.
Some companies have not gotten down. White Claw did, but some other companies not got down the black cherry flavor.
Yeah, there are some sticky
cough
ones.
syrup.
Yeah, strawberry seems to be a hard one for people.
Right. So when it gets a little too industrial, you got to be careful, just because I think those flavors don't kind of shine through. And so, that palate might be a little bit limited because some of the artificial flavorings or things like that are not as robust as others are in terms of kind of faking that taste that you want, and so I'd steer clear of those.
Gotcha.
But that's still part of the learning process as I kind of brew these little pilot batches and test them out in my tasting room, is just trying to figure out what things are going to hit and what don't.
Did you go into this when you were starting this in knowing or thinking that, man, I better put up a little bit of a thicker skin or something because I am going to be around people that are at a beer fest and I'm the guy, literally there's a target on you for the people that want to walk up and be like, well, why would anybody drink that? Which I think is ridiculous.
No, yes.
Did you have to kind of pump yourself up?
I got myself ready. I mean, it's.
And did it really happen? That's my question.
It still wasn't enough thick skin. I mean, it still is irritating.
So it happens.
All the time.
Really?
I mean, so 3 years ago when we
started.
Shut
up, everybody! Don't open your mouths. Not everything is meant to be said. Social media did that. Shut up. Just walk by his tent. If you don't like it, just walk by it.
No, I mean, some of the first beer fests we went to. I mean, because you saw it. It's non-alcoholic craft beer. We don't try to dupe anybody into thinking they're coming up and doing it.
Yeah.
But literally people would drag their friends away from
it's
the
the
tent.
vegetarian chili.
It's like, I'm going to save you.
They're like, what's in this? Or like,
that's not real beer.
All the same, every ingredient that's in every other chili except for meat. People are like, ew.
Wife, every year his wife would make vegetarian chili and people would scoff, yuck. I'm like, it's only missing things. There's nothing.
Right.
It tastes exactly like all the other chili, just minus the kangaroo or whatever this doofus is doing. I'm joking.
Very good.
It's fun. It's fun.
I'm just trying to make some
Oh, you got me. You got me.
Did you say Simone?
You wanted to make Simone laugh?
I'm training with her tomorrow.
He's doing a baby triathlon, and he hired a big-breasted bikini model.
No, she's a professional.
To train him in his own home pool. He's a married man, and he hired
this. Her pool.
You know what her nickname is?
Why are you going to her pool? You have your own.
I feel like Max can play along. Her nickname is Big Greaser.
No, you said that.
Big greasy boobies. They are shiny and humongous.
She's married. Come on. Why did you tell Max
yes,
that?
I know she's
He's
married.
here to talk about his beer.
Max looks like a man that likes some greasers.
No, come on.
Are you a military guy?
I am.
Yeah, this guy's fought for the greasers, man. This guy's, thank you for your
the
service.
freedom of your greasers.
Yeah.
So,
this guy, without him, the country would be run by a bunch of spineless weirdos like you. Get to work.
If you want to try some liter beer, he's going to be at the FL Smash Beer Fest.
Yes.
That you can get your tickets at FLSmash.com.
Here's all you need to know. Our Hourglass guys speak so highly of you, and they love you. So if you've got the beer guys that make the beer that'll blow your hat off, telling you about the guy that makes beer that'll also blow your hat off, but in a tasty way that won't, get you hammered, go try his beer. I mean, they're vouching for how amazing his NA beer is.
I feel like I need to show this. I have someone in my family that drinks non-alcoholic beer, so every time he comes to visit, we always get him like the generic.
No, get him a good stuff.
I know.
He's
He's drinking some like big beer, Heineken Zero or whatever, and then I see him drinking it.
Pour it in a glass.
yeah.
Like a real beer presented.
I'm gonna get him
a nice
some.
cool glass, something like that.
Well,
Where
Max,
can people find your beer if they want?
Easiest place is Total Wine.
Okay.
But there's actually a lot of breweries around the Orlando area that carry us. And look on our website. We've got a where to find us
Yeah,
map.
I was gonna say if you go to leaderbrewing.com,
you've done a good job.
You can click a button that literally says like where to find us, and then it shows the places that sell it.
And it's good. Awesome. I think our buddy Ed, Beer Ed, I think he was the first to turn us on to your beverages. So
awesome.
Very nice to meet you, man.
Yeah,
this is very, very cool. And congrats of all the success. I hope it continues.
I appreciate that, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem. You do a really good job, and that's why we had you in, because when we were talking to you that day at
this
Science
is
a
weird job.
We're like, Max, you should come in here and talk about this because it's super interesting, and you do an awesome job.
And it's a quality product, so go try it.
All right.
I appreciate it.
We will be right back.
Awesome. Cool. Good job, man.
Thank
Is that
you.
all we're recording today?
I believe so. Yeah, that's it.
Guys, we'll see you later.